Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is awesome!
Hello and welcome to another Cheap Shot Entertainment review of a wrestling show. This week we have NXT and Wargames. Is that a good impression? Send me your impression of William Regal doing Wargames. It happened on the 6th of December 2020 and it was from the Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida, previously known as the Performance Center. So they could put the Thunderdome in and all that kind of stuff, which was really, really cool. So we've got the normal, we've got Wade Barrett on commentary as well as Beth Phoenix. And they're doing a really good job, as well as the other guy, and I always forget what his name is, but he's doing. But I miss Morrow, man. I miss Morrow Ronaldo because, you know, War Games was, you know, made by his voice and William Regal's voice going War Games, because, you know, I can't help myself but do the War Games thing. You know, it's just, and obviously I've got the microphone. I'm going to put that down. That's a toy. Anyway, let's get on with the show. You are the Cheap Shot Nation, and this is War Games. So I can at least do this 2 more times, but the first match is going to be the women's War Games match. And I'm going to put that down again. It is Team LeRae versus Team Shotzi. I think it's LeRae, isn't it? Yeah, it is Team LeRae versus Team Shotzi Blackheart. Really 2 great teams. Toni Storm turning heel on an episode of NXT 2 weeks previous. You've got Dakota Kai, who has come on leaps and bounds since she was the shy, retiring, scared of Shayna Baszler, scared to do anything wrestler from about a year ago, just before she turned heel and did all that. Raquel Gonzalez, always been impressed with Raquel Gonzalez. She could have come in as one of the, you know, the taller women on the roster, the Beast, not really done anything, because we've had those kind of wrestlers before. Rhea Ripley's broken the mold on that one, but Raquel Gonzalez is another thing altogether, and these two together, all I want to do is see them fight, and that is my wish for a match, some kind of stipulation match. Raquel Gonzalez, Rhea Ripley, let them beat the snot out of each other, because it is ultimately entertaining. Candice LeRae, of course, is the team captain, and that makes up her 4 for Team LeRae. Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, the current NXT Women's Champion. Interesting that she's been put in this match. And of course, Shotzi Blackheart, who may just be one of my new favourite women's wrestlers on NXT. So, the rules of War Games. 2 members, 1 from each team, start the match. After the first 5 minutes, the team who won the advantage sends a person in. Every 2 minutes then, it alternates from either or until everyone's in, and the only time that the pinfall or submission can happen, because there was a point where submission only was the rule in War Games, submission or pin happen when everybody is in the ring, and that is the only time. So in between that time you can bring all sorts of stuff in, and it tends to be what we've seen in previous years. People just bring stuff in, chairs, tables, ladders, etc, etc. Makes it more interesting, makes it more dangerous. They're inside a double cage, and you've got the metal walkway in between the ring, and it's just nuts. And I've never failed to be entertained by a War Games match in NXT, and this is no different. So we get Dakota Kai and Ember Moon starting the match. Shotzi Blackheart comes in, gets a toolbox with it just seems like a waste just having a little hammer in there, but pick up the hammer. That's what I always said. You know, Raquel Gonzalez comes in next. Great move by Team LeRae there. Rhea Ripley comes in to combat Gonzalez at this point. Toni Storm brings in the kendo sticks and removes the turnbuckle pads. She's gone completely nuts, by the way, Toni Storm. I like it. Io Shirai comes in next. And she keeps getting kicked out of the ring. She doesn't manage to get in the ring for a good time. But she eventually gets in the ring, brings in ladders, kendo sticks and chairs. But she's still not in the ring. She keeps getting locked out. Of course, that would lead to something big on the horizon as well. Candice LeRae brings in bins and Indy Hartwell steals the key to the cage and puts it down her cleavage. Of course, the male referees are not going to be going down there for fear of losing their job. Which I thought was an interesting way of doing things. You know, you throw it into the crowd. There is no crowd at the moment, so it would make no difference. But you'd think they'd have a separate key. Anyway, Io still not in the ring at this point in time. Team Candice has the upper hand on a 4-on-3, that's it, 4-on-3 advantage at this point. But Io goes to the top, brings a bin with her, and goes bin diving onto everybody and takes everybody out. It's absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. She would get trapped inside that bin later on in the match. Gonzalez picks up the win, and I'm really pleased about this. She picks up the win over Io Shirai after a single arm powerbomb onto the metal bit in between the ring and a table. But this match was absolutely crazy. But that was the big deal here. Gonzalez, probably one of the lesser known people in this match, picks up the win over the NXT Women's Champion, and that is a big thing. I mean, this match was quite slow to start with, but as soon as everyone was in, it was absolutely nuts. Tables, chairs, ladders, you name it. That hammer thing that Shotzi Blackheart brought in. But wow, Gonzalez, really one to look out for in 2021. Team LeRae, like I say, picks up the victory. I'm going to give this a 4.5 or 4.5 cheap shots out of 5. Like I say, it's a slow start, but it livened up when the match officially started and the brutality skyrocketed to the moon and back, or should I say to the ember moon and back. Good to see the potential push for Shotzi and Gonzalez as well, here being Shotzi that was the team captain over Io Shirai, over Rhea Ripley, and Gonzalez was just a beast. Just a beast. Can't say anything more about that. Really, really good match to start this pay-per-view. So, how do NXT follow a nearly perfect match? They bring another damn nearly perfect match, but have it ever so slightly different. Two guys, Tommaso Ciampa versus Timothy Thatcher. Two guys that like to fight, and boy howdy did they fight. This was very much shoot. There was blood. There was, you know, not like cutting blood, but obviously noses being hit and stuff like that. It was hard hitting, and you could tell from the looks on their faces that they'd been in an absolute war by the end of this one. So Timothy Thatcher comes in, Thatcher's Thatch Can, doing all these different things with his trainees and showing them how to get out of moves, just putting them in moves that they can't get out of. Really, really harsh trainer. Tommaso Ciampa, well known in NXT, former NXT champion, well known for being a badass in the locker room and just a badass in general. I mean, these two, like, the look they gave each other at the end, you think they're going to probably put them in a tag team at some point in time, which for Tommaso Ciampa, I suppose that's probably going to be a good thing at this point, with the main event picture being so congested. And these two as a tag team would be absolutely awesome. It's like Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit sort of levels of tag team. Like, they don't like each other, but they'll get on and they'll beat people up, which is brilliant. Anyway, after a brutal match, it went outside, it went inside, and every move you could just feel that they were not pulling properly, and they were just like, come on, hit me, and it's like bang, and it's like bang, and it was just wow, what a match. Really enjoyed this one. Definitely a sleeper hit on this show, but it would be Tommaso Ciampa who would pick up the victory, finally hitting and delivering the Willow's Bell at the last minute, and Ciampa goes on to win the match. Should be noted that Timothy Thatcher did escape a Willow's Bell to start with, but as they were fighting on the apron, but Tommaso Ciampa managed to get the second version on and win the match. But what an absolute war this one was from start to finish, and that look they gave each other at the end. So, like I say, how do you follow up a near perfect match on NXT? Follow it up with another near perfect match. I'm going to give this another 4.5 cheap shots out of 5. Brilliant match. 2 matches. I was out of energy by this point, and we're only 2 matches in of 5 matches to be fought. And the next match has a stipulation as well, so the next match is the strap match, is Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes, and these two have been fighting a war over the past several months, having the match on Halloween Havoc, the Haunted House of Illusion or whatever it was called match. Never much of a fan of those kind of matches. I do quite like the pre-recorded matches when they're done right, but Haunted House matches are never very good. It did turn out to be quite good in the end, and they got back to the arena, and obviously, you know, Dexter Lumis had the zombies come out, and that was quite creepy, and they covered and then did the whole thing with the choke on Cameron Grimes. But I mean, I already knew the ending of this match. Hopefully this is going to be the end of this, because Cameron Grimes needs to go on to something better, and so does Dexter Lumis. Lumis reminds me a lot of Stone Cold Steve Austin, a protagonist that doesn't really say a lot in his early days, but he does ultimately have a great look. He has great music, very much Stranger Things, and it just has a great character, and I think they need to do something big with that, even when what's his face comes back. I should do my research really, shouldn't I? It's early in the morning, it's early, I'm recording this, so give me a break, I'll remember it later. But he would, Karrion Kross, there we go. Another man who never lost the championship. It seems to be the curse of the NXT championship really. But yeah, Lumis would win this one with wrapping Cameron Grimes up in the strap. Cameron Grimes would come out with all the dirty tricks that a heel could play, having his own strap in a bag, saying want to use this one. That gets Lumis off guard. Cameron Grimes puts up a massive fight in this one. I was really impressed with him, really taking it to Lumis, but it would be Lumis that would pick up the victory. He ties him up, trips him up, hits him over the head with a chair, and he gets the reverse capture choke on Cameron Grimes, wraps him up in the strap, and Grimes taps for Lumis to definitively finish this feud. So I want these two now to go on to different things, because I don't mind if they come back to it later, but I want them to finish, because they need to go separate ways here. Like, they really do. Definitively end the feud and put it to bed, fingers crossed. It was way better than it had any right to be. It did feature 2 genuine up-and-comers, and that's what I really like about NXT. They really do want to push the new talent, which is really good. I'm going to give this a 3.5 cheap shots out of 5. Again, it was never been a big fan of strap matches anyway, but they really did use everything that they possibly could here, and Loomis picking up the victory. I'm down with that. I would have been happy with either of them picking up the victory here, but you know, Cameron Grimes, I think he needs to be a bit more of a heel protagonist in the main event picture, and so does Loomis really, but I think for the time being it needs to be that North American Championship that both guys go for. Speaking of the North American Championship, we have a triple threat match in a ladder match for that North American Champion. It's not a ladder match. Forget me, I just associate the North American Championship with ladder matches. This is just a straight triple threat match. Forget the ladders. Forget it. Leon Ruff, the champion, surprise champion over Johnny Gargano, who won the championship at Halloween Havoc, did his spinny wheel of opponents, landed on Leon Ruff, and that was, you know, there's Ruff's name in a rough way on the spinny wheel. Leon Ruff comes down, he wins the championship thanks to Damian Priest. Shame really for Leon Ruff, because he's been used as a stepping stone for both of the other two guys, but he is the champion. He comes in with confidence, and he puts on a good match here. He's going against Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano, as William Regal would say, because he's my hero. Yeah, crazy match. Leon Ruff puts in a good shift here. He's giving up a lot of weight to Damian Priest, obviously a lot of experience to both guys, both Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest, but he does put on an absolute epic here with these two, and definitely one to look out for the future. I don't think this is done by any means. Johnny Gargano is now the three-time champion after delivering one final beat to Leon Ruff, but he would get some help. He would get some help from a familiar face, in fact, because Mr. Ghostface would come and help Johnny Gargano pick up that champion, and in a reveal it would be, it's me, Austin Theory. Hi! Austin Theory would be the man behind the mask, but that doesn't really explain where all the other ghost faces came from. Now, it just so happened that I had this. I found it randomly in my wardrobe, so that was nice, wasn't it? Hashtag thumbnail. Yeah, so Johnny Gargano at this point in time, he's definitely good enough to pick up a championship without any help, but at this point in time he's getting a lot of help, and I think that's ultimately going to be his downfall. For me, I like his character. I love the power couple. I love the power couple t-shirt. You know, if I had a missus, I'd get us both one of those, because the you know, Cuphead graphic on there, really fun. But yeah, great triple threat match, one of the best I've seen, but the interference knocks off a cheap shot, and the reference to McMahon Austin gains another half cheap shot, because you know, I can do that. I'm going to give this 3.5 cheap shots out of 5 because of the reference to Stone Cold Austin feud from like 1999. It was me, Austin Theory. Hi. That was brilliant. I loved it. Pretty old school me, and yeah, 3.5 cheap shots out of 5. Johnny Gargano is your 3-time North American champion. So it's time for your main event, and it is another War Games match, because I can. And it is the Undisputed Era Boom versus Team McAfee, and obviously normal team for Undisputed Era. We've got Dunn, Lorcan, Birch, and of course McAfee on Team McAfee. I don't even think they've got a name for this stable yet, and that irks me a little bit because they're really being pushed to the moon. And they've got some good people in there. Pat McAfee should remain as the talker, although he is very athletic. He definitely should remain as the talker for this group. Let the wrestlers do the wrestling, and let McAfee talk. He's a very entertaining guy. Clearly, he's got his own show, but I do think it's a lot of, because he's got his own show, likes the wrestling, and all that kind of stuff, that it's the crossover that's luring WWE into this. He's perfectly good. I mean, he did a move. He did a swanton bomb off the top of the cage in this match that was nuts. I mean, you wouldn't catch me up there. So kudos to him. He was absolutely impressive in this one, like he was when he went against Adam Cole in one-on-one. But this War Games match, I mean, it was fantastic, and he did the whole, I'm not a wrestler thing. I'm going to stand to one side and let the guys do what he's doing. And they're trying to do this sort of Money Inc. sort of thing, this $1 million team. I'm going to pay these guys, and they're going to do my work for me. And I just feel like if they had a name, I mean, even Retribution's got a name. If they had a name, I'd be more into it. I like the people in the stable, just needs a name. But there you go. Anyway, same rules as it was before. 2 people start, first 5 minutes, the team with the advantage, in this case it's Team McAfee, sends out their first guy from the shark cage, and then every 2 minutes they alternate until everybody's in, and then the pinfall or submission could happen. So Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly start this match, and wow, I could have actually just watched these two in a match because they were brilliant during this first 5 minutes. They beat the snot out of each other, didn't pull any punches. They were just one after another, kick, punch, and both of these guys like their striking. Kyle O'Reilly is just, he may be my new favourite part-time main eventer. And that's not because he's part-time wrestler, it's because he's been in the main event and he was ultimately very impressive and so close. Pat McAfee's team sent out Oney Lorcan next. Bobby Fish comes in to help his long-time tag team partner Kyle O'Reilly. Danny Burch comes out, got 3-on-2 advantage. Roderick Strong, the engine of the Undisputed Era, comes out next. McAfee comes down as the last team member of his team, goes under the ring. He's got tables with all of the Undisputed Era's names on them. These would come into play later on. And then of course Adam Cole comes down and War Games begins. O'Reilly hits a flying knee on to the chair of Lorcan's face to give the Undisputed Era the win. But in between all that, Pat McAfee goes through a table. There's lots of tables being broken. Pete Dunne was put through Danny Burch, I think, on a table, but it didn't quite work, so they had to splash them as well. Wow, there was all sorts of stuff. McAfee goes to the top of the cage. He does a swanton bomb onto everybody. There was one point where the Undisputed Era had McAfee on his own, and they just start beating him up. It's like, come on, just pin him. And that's the point with this match. This is why it gets such a good rating, because I wanted this, to end. Just pin him. I wanted the Undisputed Era to win. I've not felt like that in a match for a long time, and I was just drawn in by this ultimately great story that's being told in this match, and it would go on for good 30 plus minutes, this match. And bearing in mind you've got the first sort of 15 minutes of people coming out. Wow, what a match. And there was multiple sort of false finishes like that one, and they took out the other 3 guys, and then the Undisputed Era failed to pin McAfee when they could have and ended the match. So the other guys come in and they start beating us, like, oh no, they're going to win. but eventually the Undisputed Era do overcome those odds. There's a lot being made of the advantage, but the advantage towards the end paid off, because the team that doesn't have the advantage to start with has the advantage near the end, because they've got the most fresh guy in the ring, and that would be ultimately Adam Cole. Kyle O'Reilly hits the flying knee onto the chair, which is on Lorcan's face, which looked absolutely brutal, and the Era win. Boom. And I'm going to give this, like I say, it is a very rare thing, but I'm giving it out a lot for NXT. I'm going to give this a full 5 cheap shots out of 5. Absolutely brutal match from start to finish. And one thing that I did think about coming out of this match, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, I want a series of matches with those two, because they are brutal to each other. They are machines, and it just so entertaining in the ring. Absolutely brilliant. So overall, a brilliant pay-per-view, well worth watching. If you've got the WWE Network, hashtag 999, give me a free subscription. And yeah, definitely worth watching this one. So if you're a wrestling fan, this is one for you. Really, really good from start to finish. No weak matches at all. Really good pay-per-view to end the year for NXT. Definitely hot on the heels of the other Wednesday night show. Well, I think that's because their new thing. I still think NXT is the better show. I still watch AEW. I just don't feel as entertained by it. But it's good. It's good. But anyway, we're talking about NXT, and this is a way to announce that, you know, in 2021 we're coming for you, and that is exactly what they're doing. They're comfortable. They've got the talent. Let's move on from here, because that was one heck of an epic pay-per-view. Once again, you are the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke. Boom. This has been Ghostface, who made an appearance on the video. And I will see you next time in 2021. It feels weird that we're finally out of 2020. What a rubbish year we've had this year with all the lockdowns and things, but you know what, wrestling family, they've come through for us this year, and you know, they've managed to keep the wrestling on, which is great. They've done it behind closed doors at a loss, and it's fantastic. You know, the idea that they've been doing that is just phenomenal. I mean, even movies didn't do that. So yeah, from Cheap Shot Entertainment, from all of us here, hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you only watch the NXT videos, we've obviously still got TLC coming up on the 18th. I think it's the 18th. So yeah, the 18th for us. Because that'll be the... No, it's not the 18th. The 18th is a Friday. It'll be the 20th, which is the Sunday, and 21st, which is the Monday. I'm trying to work out things here. Anyway, you've been the Cheap Shot Nation. I've been your host, Luke, and I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.